And we're live. Welcome back, everyone. Attorney Craig Steger here. It's been a little while. Um, I uh, I was in Arizona for the last 5 days, and so I haven't been able to live stream. And but I got back late last night. I'll talk a little bit about that. It's actually relates to today's topic. Um, Before I do that, let me get the legalese out of the way here first. This live stream is for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. Viewing or participating in this live stream does not create an attorney-client relationship. So if you happen to come on to the live stream while the live stream is going on and you want to leave a comment in the chat, feel free to do so. If it's a general question, whether it pertains to the topic at hand, which is rental cars and rental car insurance, or if it's related to something completely different, feel free to put it in the chat. I'll do my best to answer those questions if I can. Sometimes I need to think about things or do a little research and um, do a video later on or something like that. Now, if you have a particular legal question about something that happened to you or a family member or something like that, don't leave that in the chat. What you want to do is you want to talk to an attorney about that confidentially. Um, if it involves something in Wisconsin, Minnesota, or Iowa, I would be happy to talk to you about that. If you just go to the link, the description below, you'll see my contact information if you want to reach out to me. If it's in a different state, you'll need to talk to an attorney in one of those states that practices in that type of area. If you need help finding a lawyer, feel free to reach out to me. I do have some contacts around. Sometimes I can help people find lawyers in other states, even if I can't personally practice there, because lawyers had to be licensed in each state that they want to practice in. So with that in mind, let me get right to it. So most of us at some point in time will rent a car. And when you rent your car, you'll typically be given this option to purchase extra insurance while you're using the vehicle. And I think every car rental place is going to handle things a little differently. And it will probably also vary by state. Um, Now, a few things to keep in mind. If you have your own vehicle and you have auto insurance, typically that insurance and will carry with you, even if you're driving a rental car, as long as you have the right to use that rental car. Either you rented it or your spouse, whatever. If you're operating that vehicle legally, um, your own personal auto insurance should carry with you for things such as liability insurance, uninsured, underinsurance coverage. Those are very, very important. Um, so um, if you have any questions, you should definitely talk to your insurance agent or talk to a lawyer in the state that you're in to find out if your auto insurance goes with you. But I think, in most states, your auto insurance is going to come with you, even if you're driving a vehicle that you don't own. You may also be able to purchase liability insurance or uninsured, underinsured coverage through the rental place. You have to ask them about that. One thing I've talked about quite a bit is if you have a car insured in one state and you go to a different state, and let's say the state requires either a type of coverage such as no fault coverage or limits higher than those that you have under your policy, most insurance policies will step up to whatever those minimum requirements are in the state, and that would include if you're driving a rental car. Now, um, so if you feel like you have good insurance on your own vehicle, and you're confident that it comes with you if you're driving a rental vehicle, it may not be necessary to purchase additional liability or UM/UIM coverage from the rental agency. Now, here's where you may want to strongly consider getting that insurance, and this is truly a do as I say, not as I do sort of thing, because sometimes I don't always get the additional insurance. Um, you will typically be offered to get additional collision type coverage on on the rental vehicle while you're driving it. Now, you obviously don't own this vehicle; you have the right to use it. But let's go kind of go through some different scenarios. So let's suppose you are driving this rental car, and let's say you've been driving a bunch, and you fall asleep at the wheel, and you go into the ditch, and you hit a fence or something like that, and you damage your rental vehicle. Under those circumstances, there's a pretty decent chance, I would say, under most insurance policies, that your own auto insurance will be responsible for the damage to that vehicle under your own auto policy because you were negligent or irresponsible in causing it. Now, that's a general matter, may not apply in all states, may not apply in all auto policies, but that's where the property damage is caused by you as the driver. Okay. So in that situation, it may not be as necessary to purchase that rental coverage. Now, let's say it's a little different situation, and this is the one that was starting to worry me because um, I was in Arizona for the last 5 days for work, and I rented a vehicle. I rented a nice Toyota 4Runner for my wife and our one of our kids that joined us there, and I rented it at the airport in Phoenix, a very nice facility. This is my first time renting from Alamo. I had a very good experience with Alamo this time. Strangely enough, as a side, Phoenix is supposedly the friendliest airport in the country. And I was commenting on my wife that it actually seems that way. The rental car people, even the TSA agents, all those people were strangely friendly. But picked up a car there, had a really good experience there, and I was asked if I wanted to get that additional coverage. It's like I was like $50 a day, and I declined it. But I really was kind of in a hurry. I didn't think about it. That was a mistake on my part. I kind of wish. Well, after the fact, I was wishing I had gotten that coverage because I got to thinking, what if I had been driving this car and let's say another vehicle, let's say weren't paying attention and they ran into the side of my rental car. As long as I can find them, as long as they stay and they have insurance, their insurance should cover the damages to the vehicle, to the rental vehicle. Now, there may be a hassle. They may not have insurance. Maybe they don't have enough insurance, things like that. So there's always a risk there, even if you're relying upon someone else to have insurance to cover damage to the vehicle, even if it wasn't your fault. But the scenario I was thinking about more is, what if I park the vehicle at a hotel overnight, wake up the next morning, come out, and there's a big dent in the side of the vehicle because someone backed into my rental car in the middle of the night and they didn't say anything. What happens in that case? Well, in that case, I was probably out of luck and personally on the hook for the damage to the rental vehicle because my own auto insurance, I doubt, will provide coverage to that vehicle because it's not a vehicle I own. I don't have collision coverage on that vehicle, and I didn't purchase the extra insurance from the rental company. So in that situation, I could have very easily been on the hook for damages done to the vehicle that weren't my fault. That, I think, for future reference, is why I will probably always purchase that additional coverage, because you're typically dealing with a new vehicle. This was less than a year old vehicle. Any kind of damage at all to the vehicle was going to more than exceed the $50 a day for that coverage. So I think, for most of us, unless you have pretty good personal auto coverage and it will cover those kinds of things, it's probably a really good idea to purchase that additional insurance coverage through the rental company. Now, truth be told, they probably have their own insurance. They have their insurance that covers that. So I don't know what that looks like, if they will actually enforce that against you. I would think they could, and they probably would try, even if they have their own insurance to cover it. Their insurance may actually bring a claim against you if they paid for the damages, because it was damaged while you were using it, and you decline the additional coverage, or I decline the additional coverage. So I think under those circumstances, there's a decent chance that I would be personally responsible for that. So I think for most of us, it's probably a good idea to get that property damage coverage on the rental vehicle, but specifically for that. And it's just one of those things that it gives you. It's one less headache you have to deal with. Like I said, let's suppose you're at the hotel, you wake up in the morning, and there's a big dent in the side of the vehicle. The owners, the person that did it, is nowhere to be seen. Without that type of insurance, it can be a real hassle to try and get that worked out, especially if it's in a different state. So it's probably a really good idea to get that insurance, even though it seems unnecessary and expensive. There's a reason for it. And think about it. You're driving a vehicle that you're not used to driving. It has blind spots that you're not used to. You're driving in an area that you're not used to. This in this case, we were driving in Phoenix. Even though I'm fine driving in large cities, it's a different environment. I'm driving in a very different environment, a much more congested environment, in a vehicle that I've never driven before. So it was probably a dumb thing not to get that additional insurance, but we made it through. One thing that you should do, and they actually told me to do that, is do a very thorough walk around. And they do this when you bring the vehicle back. They do a very thorough walk around, check to see if there's any scratches or dents or anything like that on the vehicle. Incidentally, when I um, initially picked up the vehicle, I noticed there was kind of a scratch on the hood. It wasn't super obvious, but you could see it. And I took a couple pictures of that before we left, just in case there was any question about that. I could document the fact that no, that this scratch was there before I took it. So it's not a bad idea to really check around, and maybe even pull out your camera and just do a walk around video of the whole side, so that there's ever any question when you bring the vehicle back, if damage was there already, you have proof of what it looked like when you pick the vehicle up. So that's just a really good idea to do. Yeah, so I don't rent cars very often. But when I do, it's probably a good idea to purchase that extra insurance from the rental agency, even though I have pretty good insurance myself for our family. Something to keep in mind. If people have questions about any of that, or suggestions on what you do when it comes to renting cars, do you pay for the extra insurance? I'd be real curious. I'm not an insurance expert per se. An insurance agent could probably better answer how your own personal insurance applies if you're involved in a crash with a rental car. Um, Maybe some insurance agent can chime in on that. But otherwise, so I hope you found that helpful. If you have any questions about any of that, feel free to leave a comment, or go to the description, send me an email, or get on my calendar. I'd be happy to try and answer any questions that I can. So appreciate anyone who was on the chat or watches this video after the fact. And until next time, everyone, have a good one.